Commissioner Anderson, Commissioner Colleen,
Yep.
Chair Baker McCormick.
Here.
You have a quorum present.
Next item.
B, Chairwoman's remarks.
Today, we're going to have a pretty short meeting. We have our first contact program vendors here today, just to give us an overview of their program. So I look forward to their presentations. Next item, please.
C, approval of the October 11, 2022 meeting minutes.
All right, is there support? Okay, it's been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passed. Next item.
D, unfinished business. There is none listed.
Next item.
Item 1, under new business, discussion with the county's first contact program vendors, Alternatives for Girls, City of Garden City, the Guidance Center, Student Advocacy Center, United Way for Southeastern Michigan, City of Wayne, and City of Westland.
Right. So we will start in the order in which you're listed on the agenda. So we will have Alternative for Girls representative. Are they here today? No? Okay, how about
Yes, we are here. Apologies.
you're on Zoom? Okay.
I'm on Zoom.
All right, thank you. Can you introduce yourself
Yes.
for the record?
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Sure. My name is Dr. Celia Thomas, and I am the Chief Operating Officer at a worker. Her name is Michelle Legleitner, and she is the Director of our Prevention Department, under which our services with childcare funding operate. So I'll give a brief overview about the organization and then turn it over to Michelle so she can narrow down into the work that you're particularly interested in. All right, so Alternatives for Girls. We've been operating, living, breathing in the city of Detroit for the last 35 years. We're located on the southwest side of town at the edge of basically Mexican Village, the Latina part of town, and Detroit and Dearborn. Young women and women of all ages, across criteria that might narrow to a specific community, or they may involve residents of the city of Detroit and Wayne County and sometimes beyond. So Alternatives for Girls exists to help homeless and high-risk girls and young women avoid violence, teen pregnancy, and exploitation. And we help them to explore and access support, resources, and opportunities necessary to be safe, to grow strong, and to make positive choices in their lives. Our broad array of services include a shelter for young women between the ages of 15 years old up to 21 years old and experiencing homelessness. We have a crisis resource center. We provide street outreach looking for youth and adult women who are involved in sex work, youth and adult women who may be victims of human trafficking or domestic violence, or to schools and community locations with raising awareness and education around the vulnerabilities of girls and women in our community and the needs and expectations that we want to maintain to serve that population and ensure that girls and women are okay. We also work in the space of providing some workforce development hub activities and in housing stability with a rapid rehousing program. And next year, we hope to be opening permanent supportive housing 45-unit apartment building in Northwest Detroit. I'm going to pause and pass it to Michelle Legleitner to give you a little bit more detail around our work with the CCF funding. Michelle?
Hi, good afternoon. So in our prevention department, we are focused on an early intervention and leadership development. So we serve girls in grades K through 12th grade who are at risk of gang involvement, of using drugs or alcohol, early pregnancy, and school truancy. We engage them in several different ways, including after-school programs, a college prep program, mentoring, summer camp, and street outreach. So our after-school program runs 3 days a week throughout the school year. We're open from 3 to 6. We serve youth at AFG in the building as well as at a local middle school. The participants are aged, again, kindergarten through 12th grade, and we offer homework help, tutoring, community warm homemade meal, individual workshops based on age, including college readiness, life skills, STEAM, career exploration, financial literacy, and substance use prevention. Last year, we served 64 youth throughout our after-school programming at AFG. We also have a summer camp that runs, we call it Rise and Shine. It runs 3 days a week from 9 to 3 for 6 weeks. And within that, that's a free program that offers individual workshops, again, based around literacy, STEAM, life skills, substance use avoidance, and healthy relationships, as well as field trips. And last year, we had a total of 47 girls that participated. The ages were 5 through 14. And then we also had 20 youth who are older, 14 to 24, who also participated in our summer camp through the Grow Detroit's Young Talent Bank program. And that is AFG's prevention programming that works with the young girls that we see through CCF in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners? For yes, Vice Chair Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And thank you, Alternative Girls, for being here. The First Contact Program. How many people do you have that are involved in the First Contact Program?
Well, it varies. So we have a first contact contract, as well as we have a contract through United Way that provides similar, which provides the same services essentially. It's just that we have a direct contract and then an indirect contract. Last year, I think total we served around 20 that met the criteria for the CCF program.
And what is your how to stay programmatic? What is your approach with first contact people? How do they get to you? And then what are your duties? And can you say something about outcomes? How long are they with you? That sort of thing. How do they get to you in the first place? And then what are your duties once you have them?
Sure. So it's kind of a wide array of ways that they get to us. Word of mouth. They also get referred by their parents in the community, schools, teachers, caring adults, as well as through our youth outreach program. So we're on the streets actually meeting students or homeless youth, in the parks, at the rec centers, things like that. So that is how the youth come to us. Then we have many services, and not all of them will meet eligibility for child care funds. So we assess the situation, obviously do an assessment with them and their parents to see what their needs are, and then apply them if we believe that they require and meet the requirements of the program. They are enrolled in this program. They also receive case management services, as well as kind of like a wraparound service. Their parents are also involved in services through parent education programs that we have set up as well. Our youth at AFG are longstanding, so most of our youth have been with us for many years. However, they are only enrolled in the child care fund for only 6 months at a time, usually. Usually there's the problems that they were encountering, whether they were having school truancy or having behavioral problems at home or threatening to run away or things like that, using substances. Usually, hopefully within 6 months, we can, the threat of them having to enter a facility is lessened and we're able to stabilize them, and they continue to provide services. They just might not continue to meet the eligibility for CCF. Again, however, if if that increases and we see continued behavioral problems, then we would re-enroll them and ask the court to re-enroll them at that time.
I didn't hear you say the courts. The courts don't assign?
We do not get any direct referrals from the court, no.
And is there ever any problem with the child care fund in terms of funding going up or down? Or do you get what you request out of the child fund?
AFG has not had any issues with the child care fund at all. We find them to be a great support to us. And we get the needed assistance from them.
They're not a limiting factor with how many people you can take on as a caseload.
The eligibility requirements, I guess, would be a limiting factor. I'm not sure, to be honest with you, if those are coming directly from CCF or if they're coming from the court. So I wouldn't be able to speak on that.
As long as they're eligible, they're going to get funded.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions about Alternative for Girls? Again, these are programs that Wayne County fund, and we thought it would be good to bring them here to tell how those funds are being used. Do you have, and I'll ask this of all of the other vendors, a one-pager that you can send to commissioners so that we can ensure that our community is aware of your programs?
Yes, AFG can send something.
I'm sorry, did you say yes to that or?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Great. If you can send it to myself or the commission staff. Thank you. All right. If there's no other questions for Alternative for Girls, we'll move on to the city of Garden City.
Sorry, I didn't unmute myself. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Kelly Taylor. I'm here representing the city of Garden City. I'm a case manager here for the Garden City Youth Assistance Program. We are currently located in Garden City, actually right next to the middle school. We just moved there, which has been very helpful to help us expand our programming some. We service mainly clients aged 10 to 17. And currently our middle school age are the ones who receive most of our benefits. We run two types of programming. We run prevention programming, which is for kids who want to increase their social skills, increase their problem-solving skills, learn how to make positive choices. We don't allow any kind of phone uses in group, so they're concentrating on getting back to doing face-to-face communication, actually sitting down and talking with one another, as well as having positive pro-social activities that keeps them from making negative decisions. Our prevention programmings run Tuesdays and Thursdays. They run directly after school. So they come from the middle school to our group. They have some hangout time where we work on them with academic support, let them debrief on their days, get them a chance to kind of wind down a little bit after the school day. And then we get into more of a sit down group setting. Our other programming that we run is intervention programming. So within the city of Garden City, if we have a youth that receives a ticket for substance use or fighting, shoplifting, etc., the ticket then comes to us. We then work with the family and communicate with the courts on if that family is actually doing what they need to. They enroll in our program, their ticket is successfully completed and it doesn't get transferred to the next level in the court system. The programming that they go through usually is goal setting, a lot of working with their parents on increasing communication, figuring out how to decrease the negative behaviors that they came for to begin with, and how to get some more skills so that they are better equipped in handling those situations in the future. We also run a summer camp that takes place during July and August, which again focused on the decrease of technology, being active again, being actually with people, getting some good social skills, peer mediation, and being able to do some conflict resolution. In addition to those groups, we have two groups that are kind of a blend. One that's a girls group that allows my middle school and high school girls to come in, sit down, kind of reflect on their days, talk about things that are important to them, problem solve, and just have a place to vent and learn how to cope with various situations that they're dealing with. And then alongside that, we run a all boys group that is more of group counseling through being active. So they come in, they'll do like a sport or activity, and our facilitators will kind of work with them to talk through their problems. But instead of them sitting down and talking, they're up more and being more motivated that way.
Okay, is that basically your presentation?
Yeah, I can go in a little bit more if
Okay.
you'd like to. I'm just trying to keep it.
No, that's fine. Just wanted to make sure. Any commissioners have any questions? Vice Chair, Commissioner Colleen.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Garden City, for being here. What do you use as measuring sticks for the success of running the program?
So it depends. Do you mean through the prevention or the intervention program or both?
Sorry, I missed it. That was too quick for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Would you like me to discuss the success rate for both programs or just the intervention program?
Are they both related to first contact?
Yes.
Well, just give me an idea of the measuring stick. Do you have the same thing where you have to get refunded every 6 months?
We can keep them up to a year.
You can what?
We can keep them enrolled up into a year. So typically for our prevention programming, typically, yes, they stay up until a year. And then at the end of that year, we measure if they have shown increase in the things that they brought us to. So if they're doing well socially, if they're staying out of trouble, if they're making positive choices, or if they have continued to slide back to problem behaviors or even starting new ones. For intervention programming, typically what we do is if we get a client who comes in for a specific referral reason, let's say they come in because they were ticketed for substance use. When they come into our program, they're being drug screened. So we're monitoring to make sure that they have discontinued use. We track them based on their actual participation and attendance in group, as well as behaviors that they have demonstrated in group, in the home, and in the school. And we coordinate with all three of those places to make sure that their behavior has been improving before we successfully complete them.
And then the measurement of success, the first contact program are for people, young people that have not formally entered the criminal justice system.
Correct.
As to kind of head things off ahead of time. I didn't hear you say courts either, but I thought courts were putting people in the program as well as schools. And so how do you know you've been successful with these young people?
So We do, first off, we do work with the courts, but we do the courts through a different funding stream. We do get court referrals, but that comes from the Right Track program. Typically, if they're in first contact, they haven't been to the courts yet. We're a step before them getting there. We know they've been successful if at the end of our time with them, parents are really happy. We keep track of surveys if they've been able to stay out of trouble, if their grades have improved, if their attendance is going good, if they've received no other tickets while in program with us. And then we keep track too of any kind of clients that we get who get another ticket after they've finished with us. And typically they don't.
So you are tracking even after they leave the program, whether as juveniles, they do enter the criminal justice system for one reason or another?
Well, we track if they come back to us.
They come back to you.
Yeah, so after we close them, if they get another ticket, they'd be sent to us or to the court at that point. So we track how many repeat people we get.
And this is probably true for all of the folks we're going to talk to today. So let's say you get a young person that's 16 years old that's been referred to you, or 15, and they spend a year with the program. You wouldn't necessarily know when they're 17 if they wind up in a courtroom somewhere.
Typically, no, not unless we get any notification of that. Or if the parents, like sometimes we'll have parents who work with us for a while and they keep us updated, but we don't get like any kind of alert or anything letting us know, because once that we have to close them before they would be transferred into the court system. So at that time, they're no longer our client. They've been kind of escalated into a different service.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And would you say prior to COVID that the numbers increased or decreased in your program?
You mean now compared to pre-COVID?
Right. Mhm.
Actually, our numbers right now are increasing pretty well. Right after COVID, they were very low, but recently we've been getting more referrals with things being more open. We're getting more tickets. We're getting more youth from outreach. Like I said, having our building moved to right next to the middle school has really allowed us to coordinate more with the schools, and it's more accessible to the youth in the city.
And how many first contact students?
Currently, we have 54.
54?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Anderson.
I apologize. We have 42 first contact students, right? I'm sorry. I apologize. 42.
Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, I was just going to ask you a couple of things about, you're now in the center that they moved from Maplewood, correct?
Yep, to the Radcliffe Center.
Yeah, and how is that going with the new location there? I guess being, as you mentioned about being next to the junior high, it's probably very advantageous for you for even some of the kids to come over maybe directly after school. Do you have that happening too? Is that now possible?
Yep. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, actually, we it's actually been really nice because moving over to the new building, we actually have our own rooms that are designated for our group rooms. When we were still working out of Maplewood, we had rooms that we had to rent through the center. But at the new location, we have our offices and then 2 good sized rooms right next to them that we're able to have access to all the time. So we have opened up one of those rooms on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the kids, and as well as Wednesdays for the kids to come over right after school. We offer some academic support during that time if they need it. And there's just some different various activities that they can sit there and do until group starts, so that they don't worry about having to have transportation. They don't have to worry about getting there and back again. They don't have to worry about going and finding something to do an hour before group and, doing something silly as kids do. They come, they spend time with us, they're monitored, and they've been seeming to have a good time. We've been having a lot of good success with that.
Are you able to do anything with them right now as far as activities with I believe they're going to have a computer lab in that building. correct me if I'm wrong, but it might be something that, teaching them how to apply for a job in that down the road, and some things that would give them something positive to be working on.
We've done coordinating with the building, and the city manager has already kind of talked to us about being able to find time to utilize those rooms for our programming as well. And we do in both our curriculums go through skills such as job interviewings, how to apply for a job, how to apply for school, colleges, alternatives to colleges, if that's something that they're interested in. So we do like to go through a lot of those skill building things as well. We also go through budgeting, financial stuff, how to read a paycheck.
Are you the immediate successor to Monica Fulton?
No, so actually the position of Monica and then the one right under her were eliminated. So right now we have 4 case managers that are working. We all kind of took on different roles and responsibilities, but we all work as equals.
The next question I was going to ask is how many you have working on the program there?
We have 4 full-time case managers.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And Madam Chair, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. And thank you, Garden City, for the work that you do.
Thank you.
All right, we will now move to the Student Advocacy Center.
Good afternoon, everyone. Would it be okay if I tried to share my screen? And we had a PowerPoint. I don't know if it'll work, but can we try? Would that be okay?
Okay, yes, and your name and title for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Shaquille Rayford. I'm a program manager at the Wayne County office for the Student Advocacy Center. And my supervisor, Nell, if you want to introduce yourself as well.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for having us here with this commission. My name is Anel Eccleston. I am the Director of Care and Sustainability with the Student Advocacy Center.
Okay. All right. And are you able to see our screen?
And where are you located?
Our office is in Detroit, at the mid building. We're on 2nd and Pallister in the New Center area.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. And are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. Thanks. So again, my name is Shaquille Rayford, and myself and my supervisor, Nell Eccleston, are here today to talk to you about the Student Advocacy Center and the services we're offering through the Child Care Fund program. So the Student Advocacy Center, we're a grassroots nonprofit. We work with underserved students and their families to make sure that they are in school, they realize their right to a quality public education, and to help them grow and experience success. Today, we're going to talk about our 2 programs. I'm going to talk about our education advocacy program and what that looks like. And then when I'm done, and now we'll give you an overview of our Check and Connect academic mentoring program. So our education advocacy program. So basically this program was founded based on the, oops, sorry about that. So the model that it's based off of, it discusses the lack of formal rules of our education system, the knowledge about disabilities and systems, and interacting with schools that our families, especially our disadvantaged families, low-income families, and are experiencing. So what we do at Student Advocacy Center, it's a pretty basic model, but what we do is we get phone calls from our statewide helpline, and then at that point we assess the students' needs. Most of the students that we work with have some kind of issue either with discipline or special education issues, or both. So we usually work with our families to explain what their rights and options are based on their situation. Most of our cases are kids who are being suspended long-term or expelled, or have special education needs that have not been met by the school. Once we open the case through the Child Care Fund, we attend school meetings, we help families prepare for expulsion hearings, we attend expulsion hearings with families, We attend special education meetings, and we also monitor the student in school once we get services in place when we are able to do that. So this past school year, we had 55 youth that were enrolled in the Child Care Fund Education Advocacy Program. Of those 55 youth, about 80% of them were special education students. And our goals, so the way that we look at our outcomes to see if we're actually having success, what we look at is attendance, discipline, and grades. And what we try to strive for is an 85% either increased and maintained passing grades and attendance, and decreased discipline during the time that we were involved. So this past school year, as you can see, we had 57% of our youth increased their attendance or maintained an attendance of 90% or more. 89% of our youth decreased their disciplinary history in action, or they maintained a positive disciplinary history throughout the school year. And then also we had 70% of our youth maintain or achieve passing grades. Some of these goals are a little lower because of COVID. We have seen that it has impacted a lot of like the grades and the attendance for a lot of our kids last year, but we still see that as some promising numbers. And then just to give you guys kind of an overview of what it kind of looks like for our advocates, this is one of our success stories that we wanted to share with you. And this story is pretty typical of the type of stories that the type of cases that we work with on a daily basis. So Mark's a 10th grade student, a student athlete. He was returned to school after being up for expulsion for the second time this school year. He's been struggling with bullying and suicidal ideations all year. He's reported that he does not feel safe at his school. The school removed him after an incident occurred on the school bus with another student that has repeatedly bullied Mark throughout the school year. With the help of our education advocate, the family was able to avert Mark's expulsion from school. Mark was able to return to school. And the advocate also assisted the family with improving Mark's special education supports and services once he returned. They were also able to transfer him over to the another high school in the school district where he was able to have a fresh start for the next school year. So these are the types of things that we're able to help our families do through the support of the Child Care Fund. This is just one success story, but we've had many. We have a lot of successes because of this program. So I will turn it over to Anil, and he can talk about the Check and Connect program.
Thank you, Shaquille. Again, our Check and Connect mentoring program is a very intensive evidence-based program. We like to think about our services in a nice continuum. Many of our students are coming to us with a variety of education concerns. Our Check and Connect mentoring program is an evidence-based model from the University of Minnesota. It prioritizes re-engagement, increasing on different indicators. Our priority cases are court-involved youth that are truant, maybe they have mental health needs, also youth that may have fewer resources in the community. Our mentors are engaging with staff throughout the days in school buildings, really working to increase engagement and building relationships between the students. It's a minimum of a 2-year intervention program. We like to use the first year of that intervention to be able to build relationships with our students, and use the second year to really help push for that change component. Our mentors are in the schools connecting with students weekly. They're also connecting with parents on a bi-month or bi-weekly basis throughout the months. And just innately through that process, they're connecting with teachers, administrators, support staff in schools on a weekly basis as well. We really prioritize pulling check data. The term Check and Connect, it lends itself to a very creative way to achieve this data collection. And while we're checking the data with our students, we are coming up with personalized interventions with our students, with the families, to really build a solid foundation for our students to continue to grow from. one of the bigger basis of building that connecting piece, the intervention component, is that problem solving aspect. Ensuring that our students understand that problem solving is key for their future, and understanding the appropriate ways to do so with the guidance of our mentors has been essential to their success. One of the other aspects of our Check and Connect program is to elevate youth voice. We find too often that our youth don't have a say-so in what happens with them or what happens to them in the schools. So our mentors align with our advocates and go into some very tough situations and advocate for our students' resources, so that way they can be able to perform at the highest level that they can. And so from there, we just kind of want to share a couple of statistics with you regarding some of our interventions and how that's been successful. And so through the Child Care Fund, we've been able to service many students, particularly with this funding. Excuse me, as you can see, we've serviced about 65 students in the last school year. And we use these 3 indicators, the attendance, the discipline, and then the grades. And so 91% of our students have increased their attendance in school. While we're working with our mentors and training our mentors, we always go off the premise of if the kids are not in the building, they can't learn, right? And so we want them to be able to get the access to go into the building to be able to learn. So 91% of our students were able to increase their attendance. 88% of our students decreased their disciplinary referrals. That's such a huge gap for a lot of our kids. Sometimes they get into this routine of getting multiple disciplinary referrals. So to have 88% of those students decrease their disciplinary referrals is a huge success for us and for the students and their families. These last 2 data points are so amazing that our mentors were able to work with our students to achieve, increasing their grades or maintaining passing grades. 100% of our students were able to increase or maintain their grades to passing and keep them up there. And then finally, our CAFAS score. CAFAS is something that we use to help track social emotional progress and their ability to continue to build relationships through that social emotional lens. And so 100% of our students improved or maintained their current CAFAS score. And so we always like to provide our stories for our students. And so you can see here, this story is about a 9th grade student that confides in their mentor to get some mental health services and needs there. So Malik is a 9th grade student who has bouts of anxiety and depression. As he made the transition from middle school to high school, was working hard to be successful. At first, he was hesitant to speak to his mentor about what his episodes felt like, but his mentor provided a safe space for them to talk while out in the community and connecting. The mentor shared with him the benefits of therapy and mental health support, as well as the positive effects physical activity has on the mind and body. With the support of his mentor and his mother, Malik shared with this mentor that he engaged in mental health support at school and that it had helped. He got involved with the school's wrestling and track teams and finished the school year with an increased grade point average and attendance percentage. This is just a small snapshot of what our mentors are working with our students on in schools, and just one of our many success stories that students can grow through some of our services here at the Student Advocacy Center. Thank you.
And thank you. Your students come from all over Detroit. Is that correct? Or is there?
The entire Wayne. So K through 12 students in Wayne County.
Okay, in Wayne County, not
Yes.
just Detroit. Okay.
Our Check and Connect, I would add that our Check and Connect program is really best service at priority schools. And so right now we have implemented this program in collaboration with Cody High School and also with Covenant House Southwest, but Cody High School is more appropriate here.
I heard you talk a little bit about parents or parent visits where you visit the home. What does that look like? Because I think for me, there's definitely a need, for you to connect with the parent and kind of see what's going on in the life of a young person at home. So how does that program work? Is there like certain days that you visit? Is it, a one-time visit? How does that work?
Well, with the education advocacy program, it's weekly. So a lot of times if we have students that are already, when they come to us, they've already been expelled or suspended, so they're at home, we go to the home to visit with them and the parent. Other times though, too, like if I have younger kids, I will go visit the parent because a lot of times the kids can't really communicate what's going on, if they're in first, second grade. So I'll go to the home and meet with the parent, or in the community. We're really flexible about meeting them. So it doesn't have to be the same day or time every week. We try to work around their schedule.
And with the Check and Connect program, we receive referrals directly from the school. And so our second step is to connect with the parent, guardian, or caregiver to schedule that home visit to complete the intake. And so that's just the first step to building the relationship with the parent. Our mentors will go, and after they get that time scheduled, they will meet with the parent, our guardian, or caregiver at the home, where they go over the program, just kind of establish a foundational understanding of what the mentor are trying to accomplish in collaboration with the family and the student. And then moving forward from there is kind of on an as needed basis. We have kind of added our own specific clause there so that our mentors are connecting with parents face to face twice a month at minimum. Depending on the needs of the student, that can be more frequent, right? That could be every week, multiple times a day, or multiple times throughout that week. Just really trying to be the bridge between the school, the community, and the home.
Okay, thank you so much for that presentation. Any questions from the commissioners? All right. Vice Chair, Commissioner Killeen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What is the relationship between the Advocacy Center and the County of Wayne when it comes to administering this program? Well, what do you do with the county?
So what we do is when we get referrals for youth ages 10 to 17, we do a referral packet to the Child Care Fund to get funding to do services. Typically anywhere from 4 to 12 months, which the 12 months is the cutoff from the county, but we typically are anywhere from 4 to 12 months with the family, depending on the need.
This is what's known as a donor-funded program, where, if I have this correct, and I may not, the Student Advocacy Center puts up so many dollars that comes to Wayne County. Wayne County sends it to the state, matches it to the Child Care Fund, and that's how you get your full funding.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's one way you interact with the county.
Yes.
How long is your contract to run these?
The most current contract, I believe, was for 2 years. I think the newest one is 2 years, which I think started this year.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the background here. And do you submit any kind of paperwork reporting to the county? What do you report back to the county? What are you obliged to report back to the county in terms of your administration of these dollars?
So we do monthly reports that we send to the county, and we give them so a monthly breakdown of the budget, and then we also send them copies of the expenditure form every month. Our accountant does that. So we have our accountant take care of all the financial and the budgeting stuff with the monthly report.
You're in regular contact with the county.
At least once a month.
And I'll just observe for the rest of the presentations, Madam Chair, if you go onto the county website and you search for First Contact Program, it comes up 0 returns. Just saying. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Is anyone from the administration I'm curious why.
To that later.
Okay, nothing
But
comes
that's why
up.
I was
But that's important.
It is,
Yeah.
and that's why I was asking the questions about what the relationship is between these
Right.
providers and the county. But we can handle that question some other time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. We'll now move to the next presenters, which is the Guidance Center.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Laura Hewitt. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at the Guidance Center. We're a large multi-service organization. One of our biggest divisions is behavioral health. So I'm sure Commissioner Colleen is familiar with our organization. We also provide juvenile justice continuum from prevention on through full-on case management for JJ services. We do early childhood, Head Start, early Head Start. So we have a lot going on. But one of our premier programs is our Kids Talk Children's Advocacy Center. And this is a model where police, protective services, and child protection all come together in our facility when there's an allegation of child sexual abuse, severe physical abuse, or witness to a violent crime. And those partner agencies watch the forensic interview take place on closed circuit television. So it's our staff doing those interviews. And then we also provide ongoing mental health services, specialized medical evaluations. But I'm actually going to turn it over to Melanie Richards. She's the director of the Kids Talk Children's Advocacy Center. So she has a presentation prepared, and she'll be, I believe, sharing her screen.
Great. Thank you so much, Laura. Hello, Melanie Richards of Kids Talk Children's Advocacy Center. So just to begin, we serve all of Wayne County, really beginning infancy through 17. So yes, I can just share my screen. There is a short 1-minute video of what a Children's Advocacy Center is, and I think it's a really concise, concise way. So if you, if you don't mind, I would like to just do that, and then I'll talk briefly about the services that we do. Thank you.
A Children's Advocacy Center, or CAC, provides support to victims of child abuse. Without a CAC, an abused child may have to tell their story over and over again in settings that may be scary or where kids may think that they're in trouble. Then, families have to search around for the services their children need, all on their own. But in a CAC, a child tells their story to a trained interviewer who makes the process gentle on the child and finds the facts which are crucial to the child's case. Then, a community of professionals in medicine, law enforcement and child protective services, prosecution, victim advocacy, and other heroes work through the CAC to decide the best way to help the child. And CACs provide science-backed mental health care that heals kids from trauma and helps them reclaim their futures. This community of caring professionals rallies around the child so children have everything they need, all in one place, at the CAC. To find your local CAC or to sign up for updates, visit nationalchildren'salliance.org.
The National Children's Alliance is the accrediting body, so we are accredited. There is typically only one advocacy center per county, so we are the only advocacy center serving Wayne County. Some of the smaller, more rural areas may serve multiple counties. So because we are sort of a comprehensive advocacy center, we provide all of our services on site, whereas some, again, smaller CACs may refer out. So we'll focus on forensic interviews in just a moment, which is our relationship with First Contact, the Child Care Fund. We also provide child and family advocacy to each family who arrives, comprehensive medical evaluations. So there are only 8 child abuse pediatricians in the state who are practicing. Wayne County is fortunate enough to have 2 of those. I think it's sort of an underutilized service that we have, but a very important service nonetheless. Mental health services, as Laura mentioned, these are both home-based and in office, and we focus on trauma they're trauma focused. Case review, which is very interesting. It's all of our partners. So law enforcement, Children's Protective Services, prosecutor's office, attorney general's office, and medical, mental health. And we discuss cases to ensure, we are providing, very equitable services, and also to try and identify system barriers and challenges. And so we have been really successful in doing that. So the case review team is made up of all those disciplines, and we meet once a month. So it's been very, very beneficial, I think, for children who are currently going through the process, and also hopefully children to come. And then community outreach and education. We sort of have a pin in this right now, but again, also very important to what we do. So again, the multidisciplinary team of Wayne County is made up of all the individuals that I mentioned, and we follow the Wayne County Case Management Protocol for Child Abuse and Neglect, sort of the protocol for short. But basically the first protocol in the state came out of Wayne County, and now each county in the state is required to have one. It's sort of a best practice model of how children should move through the system when there's an allegation or concern of child abuse, neglect, child maltreatment. And because all of these different entities need to be involved, they all sort of have their own role. It is to make sure that we are coordinating and collaborating with our services so that we're pooling all of that knowledge and resource together, and making sure we are surrounding the child and family with services rather than the child having to keep going to each individual service or each agency and retelling their story. So that's really important piece of the model. So forensic interviewing, again, this is the piece that is funded. And so these are for children and youth. We do interview a handful of vulnerable adults each year, just as a courtesy. It's sort of the right thing to do. There's a Michigan forensic interviewing protocol, which also was very important and now is utilized all over the US. It came out of Michigan, and also the FBI uses this protocol now. So it's very client-centered, it's non-leading, non-suggestive, and it's sort of fact-seeking rather than fact-confirming about the allegation. As much as we want to make sure that we can identify children who need to be safe, we also want to be able to identify children who are currently safe and don't need to be receive intervention anymore. So as Laura mentioned, these are almost every advocacy center in Michigan records their interviews now. Wayne County does. The interviews are watched live by our partners who, again, to make sure that our interviewers are gathering everything that each system needs for their investigation. So it's very important. So this sort of process, there's a pre-meeting with the professionals and then the family. And then after the interview, there's a discussion of next steps. So as I said, we're really exploring alternative hypotheses during the interview to make sure that we're exploring all other options. So I mentioned the protocol. So there's sort of there's sort of a method that it follows to make sure that we're, it can be very intimidating for children who have, a lot of this is surrounded in secrecy, and then to have them come into a building and people they don't know and sort of share everything can be really tricky. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make this a safe environment as possible. We establish ground rules with the children, do a practice interview, tell us everything that you told us when you woke up this morning, everything that you did when you woke up this morning, so that they can understand how detailed that we want them to be. And then the topic is introduced very neutrally. And then we're going to ask a lot of open-ended questions and then only clarify questions as necessary. So,
Okay.
So these are just some numbers of the Advocacy Center, regarding COVID. Historically, or nationally, there was a significant decrease in the number of child abuse allegations that were reported during COVID because the children were not visible. Teachers are the people who refer the children most frequently. These concerns or allegations, and of course the children were not in school. What we have seen since COVID is that we have returned to sort of pre-pandemic numbers much more quickly than the national average. We had this 6-month dip during COVID, but essentially we have surpassed that now. We're also seeing a significant increase in the severity and the how complex that the allegations are. So that is a trend that we've seen as well. So we have 2 locations. So this is our Midtown Detroit location. We're at Woodward and Warren. As you can see, it's a historic home. The carriage house in the background there, that's our medical clinic. And then our other location is in Southgate on the main campus of the Guidance Center. So, I know we're getting over my time, so that is, I'll stop sharing my screen, but in a nutshell, that is Kids Talk Children's Advocacy Center.
Thank you. Thank you for that presentation. How many participants would you say you have this year?
This year?
Because
So
there was an increase, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
So this fiscal year, we interviewed about 2,100 children. And, you know, I always sort of compare that to Oakland County, which is the next largest county in the state. And their numbers are at 700 and some. So the capacity challenges for Wayne County are very significant. As a result, our children often have to wait quite a bit longer for services than some of children in other counties, which is of course really heartbreaking. For the Child Care Fund, we served about 264 of the 2,100 children through the Child Care Fund.
And so what would you say is the wait time?
It ranges from 2 to 4 weeks. Best practice, we would like to have these children in within 3 days. If we look at some of the other metropolitan advocacy centers across the country, Chicago, Houston, Baltimore, their wait times are not like ours. So we have space issues. And the historic home is great. Children love it. It makes them feel very safe. You know, they ask us if we live here, and it's a very comforting place for them, but we just don't have the space or the staff to get those wait times. Now, I will say, I always have to add this caveat that we do ensure that children who have emergency needs are seen within 24 hours. We have built capacity into our schedule to ensure that. So if law enforcement needs something, we can make sure that we do that within 24 hours. But all the other children typically have to wait.
If you can, if you have like a 1-pager, how we would, refer anyone to you that we can provide to our constituents, that would be great.
Absolutely. So for forensic interviews and medical, the referrals have to come from a law enforcement official or Children's Protective Services, DHHS. For our trauma-focused therapy, anybody can refer to that. So I'll send that information.
Great, thank you. Any commissioners with questions? Yes, Vice Chair Colleen, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is this the original Kids Talk program? Goes back to 30, 45 years?
Not that quite long. This one started for Wayne County. It started out at the prosecutor's office. And then they decided it needed to be moved out of the prosecutor's office because of potential conflict of interest.
So
and then, I'm sorry.
You're the successor to that.
Yep, so we're that program. The Guidance Center took over then it was just a forensic interviewing program in 2001.
Okay, great. Yeah, there's a great story on how Kids Talk first got started that I'll share with you sometime. This is not the forum for it. Very interesting, and it's a great program. Now, in your list of what the Guidance Center does, I didn't see a separate listing for First Contact program. And like the Kids Talk definitely predates any of this First Contact discussion that we're having. So
I can answer that, Commissioner Colleen.
I'm not done asking it yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what is the Guidance Center being able to do, bring in different programs or whatever as a result of this funding? Or are you kind of continuing to do what you've been doing for a long, long time and just being able to expand that? So what is the First Contact? When you get money for First Contact, what does that go for? That's new and different from what you've been doing before.
Well, we use the funding for what we've been doing already. One of the challenges with this funding is a 50-50 match. And
right.
It really needs to be a cash match. So it does limit, we have to fundraise for Kids Talk in order to be able to use those dollars as match for the services that we provide. So we don't think of it as a separate program. We just think of it as a funding stream within the Kids Talk CAC.
And yeah, because Kids Talk does a lot of stuff, right? And I think originally it was there so that young children didn't have to face a parent in a courtroom live, that they could testify through video and being interviewed by the appropriate child care professionals with regards. A lot of it was around abuse in families, but it sounds like it's a lot more than that these days, than just providing a means for 4, 5, 6-year-olds to have their testimony in court in family.
Yeah, that is correct. When it started out, we interviewed children through the age of 12. And then several years ago, we decided to turn this into a full service CAC. And that's where we added therapy, medical services, and started seeing youth all the way through the age of 18 or up to age 18. And we also expanded it beyond child sexual abuse allegations to severe physical abuse, severe neglect, cases where children have witnessed violent crimes. Melanie can speak better to some of those cases than I can, but we were seeing about, when the Guidance Center first took over the program, we were seeing about 400 kids a year. And as Melanie said, we're seeing more than 2,000 now.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for the work you do, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you again for your presentation, and we will move to the next presenter, which is United Way of Southeastern Michigan.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for the opportunity to be able to come and talk to you about our First Contact program. I'm Rebecca Slay, and I'm Associate Director for the Building Foundation's First Contact program in partnership with Wayne County. I'd like to introduce Charles Calloway. He's our specialist over the Building Foundations. And then we have Ellen Gilchrist here, who is over our K through 12 Education and Community Initiatives program. So thank you again for allowing us to talk about our program. Building Foundations. United Way, we're a trusted name. We've been in service and internationally over 100 years. Where our mission is to be able to mobilize the caring power of people in Southeastern Michigan to improve communities. We're dedicated to creating stable households and thriving children. Our YouSome Building Foundations program, First Contact, is a prevention program, and our main aim is to be able to keep youth out of juvenile and or foster care. How did we get into the program? In 2006, we've been doing this work a long time. We've been in a relationship with Wayne County for over 10, 15 years. And we initially came to the forefront looking at our collaborative partners that we work with. They're providing specialized interventions and comprehensive services. How could we begin to leverage state funds? How we could fill gaps in services working with Wayne County, and how we could serve additional people in Wayne County. And so currently we're in 11 cities in Wayne County. We're in over 25 zip codes in Wayne County, working with Wayne County. And we do have a really, really seamless relationship with Wayne County. It's a proven model. YouSome's role, we provide oversight. We ensure that things are getting done. We provide technical assistance and training to all of our partners, and we're doing measuring impact, collective impact and metrics. So when I talk about metrics, over the years, We've covered, we track our youth, making sure they're staying out of the system. At one point, we have evaluated 14 domains, seeing if different behaviors have changed over that time. As you can see, the partnership, we really, really value the partnership that we have within this collaborative. We have the child state, the funding source, the child care fund. Then we have Wayne County, it's United Way, working with the Third Circuit Court. That's where the referrals get approved. And then the Juvenile Assessment Center, where the youth that are coming through our program get approved. Then our service providers. Since 2006, we've had up to 21 partners in our collaborative, and currently we have 10 partners in our collaboratives. Alternative for Girls, Black Family Development, Cody Root Action Alliance, Detroit Association of Black Organizations, Diversified Community Services, Healthy Kids, the Union, Franklin Wright, and Matrix Human Services. Those are our current partners under our collaborative. Our investment, we have been very, very successful over the years. Through our collaboration, we have served over 12,000 youth and their families. We provided over 84,461 units of service. And we are so proud to say through our tracking through 2016, we have only had 10 young people escalate into the system, either the juvenile justice system or child care. And on this chart, you can see our percentages over the years. And we're really, really proud of that fact, working with Wayne County and working with our service providers and other partners within the collaborative. This partnership has made a difference. We're addressing risky behaviors. Risky behaviors can start out as truancy, negative peer relationships, parental going against your parents. We have addressed those, and we try to work with that young people through our collaborative partners to address those issues before they get out of hand. Just another fact on how we're making a difference. If a kid goes into juvenile and or out of home placement, it can cost taxpayers $30,000 a year. Our program costs $2,000. And so over the years, we've been doing this since 2006. We're saving taxpayers a tremendous amount of money. So thank you. For this time, I was limited to 5 minutes. So tried to stick with that time frame. And again, just really thank you for the opportunity to be able to come and talk about the work that we're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing as well. Question? Yep, Commissioner Killeen, Vice Chair.
Madam Chair, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And vital work. So you have, how do I say it? You are managing this and you are bringing on partners to actually provide the services?
Yes.
So it's not direct services from United Way?
No, not
You're
direct
like,
service.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say, you're the first presenter so far to really talk about what I understand the first contact system to be. And that involves judges saying, all right, let's divert this young person. You know, they're petitioned by parents or schools to say this person needs help before they get into the criminal justice system.
Yes.
And then judges get involved in that and approve.
And approve.
That this young person can go into the first contact program.
And it is really a testament to working within systems. So you got United Way system, you got Wayne County, you got the court, you have 10 partners all within systems, being able to come together and work together under the collaborative. And the partnership that we have with Wayne County and the court and the JAC is seamless at this point. It took some years, but we get along pretty good.
Yeah, and I think this is testament, Madam Chair, to, and this is always the back and forth in so many things and the way government operates, and that's to do the funding up front before you have an issue. You're talking the $2,000, right?
Yes.
Rather than having a kid wind up in the criminal justice system, and which makes it worse for the kid quite often. Placements, and if they go to the JDF or whatever.
And we always like to emphasize that we get the kid before they're touched by the court.
Yeah.
None of our youth we serve at least 2,000 youth a year, and we do a pretty good job of, the success rate in terms of if you only got 1, 2, 3 kids being touched by the court, it's a proven model over the year that we have them within our programming.
And I think it speaks strongly to invest in the preventative stuff up front.
Yes.
That's been the constant conversation. Do we invest in preventative up front, or do we build more jails later?
Exactly.
And so I think this is testament, Madam Chair, to investing in the preventative measures up front, even if there is not, and in this case specifically, not a court record for these young people. But we know numbers, and we know
yes. Thank you for that.
How many kids might have wound up had you not been there.
Exactly. So we constantly had that debate about prevention and how you can really prove that this program, and being able to put it concretely when you talk about prevention. And I think
the eligibility conditions for a kid getting into the program in the first place. Who sets who is eligible? Who makes those rules?
Those rules are really set by the JAC and the court in terms of risky behaviors. And so just did the annual report, and the top 7, I can't remember all 7, but they were things like truancy, skipping school.
Those are the court?
Yeah, exactly. Those are the guidelines. And that's how they partner with us, because before we even
So the
are
courts come
able
to
to,
you and go, yeah.
yes, they screen the kid.
And what do we call the JAC these days? It's
Juvenile Assessment Center, Assured Family Services.
Family
Yes,
Services.
Assured
There we go.
Family
Yeah.
Services.
I'm trying to shift gears here, and I keep forgetting.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much for what you do.
No,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
Thank you.
All righty.
And thank you again for providing us the information. And I do agree that prevention is key. And so thank you for your presentation,
Okay.
the work you do. All right, and our last presenter, last but not least, the City of Wayne and the City of Westland. Boone? Anyone here from the City of Wayne, City of Westland? On Zoom or, oh, did you have?
So, Madam Commissioner.
Your name and title for the record. Thank you.
Paul Motz, City of Westland. I do want to say City of Wayne and City of Westland, we do share a school district, but we have separate youth assistance programs. And I think Barb Christner, who runs an awesome program, I believe she might be on Zoom. I think that may have been part of the plan for her today. I've appreciated some of our vice chairs questions, and he obviously knows about how our system used to be, where kids would be they would be taken to the old youth home for charges of truancy from home. It didn't take much. And it could be a disruption at home. Kids would be taken from their homes. So what happened was the system got huge with placements. Kids were going to placements. Well, eventually the state of Michigan figured out we weren't doing a very good job of helping these kids or helping them sufficiently. There was plenty of lost children. So part of this, and I congratulate United Way, we didn't get on board with the First Contact program till 2011. And the First Contact program allowed youth assistants to go from a 3-person office, probably underserving, but doing the best we could, a lot of youth. This allowed our program to expand so we could have case managers with a limit of 20 cases per case manager to ensure that the youth receives adequate services. So our referrals come from families themselves voluntarily. They might have a certain complaint with the youth's behavior. They can come from schools regarding, it can be attendance or suspensions. We get a lot of referrals from our police department. The police department is trying to do their part by giving the youth and family an opportunity to take care of it in the community, as opposed to going to court and having an official court record. Who do we serve? So our youth are between 7 and 17, like the rule book says. Our some of the breakdown. And I was surprised when I looked at the recent stats. Right now, we only have 52% single head of household. That's pretty good for us. Usually we're at 65 to 70% single head of household. And a lot of those households are not the parent. They might be an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent. Even grandparents are raising kids. 31% of our families are low income. 40% are very low income. 37%, and sometimes this is higher as well, have ADD, ADHD, some type of learning disability or emotional impairment. So how do we help these kids? We get kids from schools in Westland, and we have different middle schools and different high schools. But we also take kids from neighboring communities as well. The main thing is we want the families to get service. Sometimes kids from our city get serviced by other programs if that's the best and most convenient for the way the family to get help. Everything we do is about relationships and about people. I'm very proud. I've been the director since 2005, and I had a great teacher who was ahead of me, Renell Bowman. But some of our staff that have went through our program, a lot of them are very new, recent graduates. A lot of them were interns in our program. Many of them have gone on to be social workers. We have some people pursuing PhDs. We have directors of other programs, entrepreneurs, counselors, and we even had a lawyer come through our program to work with our kids. So we have fantastic people. Our main goal is to get people who are awesome, that care about kids, because that's going to be the main thing when these people are walking through the doors. So we're trying to make that connection. We're not trying to judge. We're trying to improve the situation, with our main goal being to not have any further contact with the police and the court system. So we also use the CAFAS, the Childhood and Family Assessment Scale that was mentioned earlier. And there's 8 categories, but the main 3 that really stick out to me is that youth really decrease the likelihood that they're going to have any further contact with the police and court system, meaning they haven't wronged the community, so they got a better relationship with the community. They end up having a better relationship with their family, and school tends to improve as well. Now, sometimes we know, hey, if school improves first, that's going to help with the family, because that's going to take some of the arguments at home. So the services we provide include, we have our Life Choices classes for our youth, and that's either going to be on a Tuesday night or Wednesday night, boys group, girls group, parent group. That's an area that we was asked about pre-pandemic and post-pandemic. We've had a hard time. One of our challenges is getting more parents and guardians into our groups. Now of immediate recent, we're doing a better job, but I think some of the issues that are facing our kids is that their parents have a lot of issues and concerns that they're trying to make sure their bills are paid, that they have a place to live, that they're able to work and to function. So that's some of their challenges. We have service learning activities, which we've really, in recent years here, we're able to expand to focus more on therapeutic opportunities, even though our youth are not, our program is not a counseling agency, but a lot of times there's some therapeutic value derived. We've had kids come into our program who spent years in counseling and therapy. Parents are not really satisfied and are amazed that sometimes kids are able to make major transformations. So I'm not going to come up here and tell you, hey, our program's 100% effective, because it's not. And I've been around long enough to see kids in our program end up getting murdered. And I've seen some kids, former clients, hear about them murdering someone else. So it does happen. I can't talk about 100% of effectiveness, but we also offer tutoring. Our mentoring program, that's something we've put a lot of time, energy, and effort through the years. We try to expand people's horizons and opportunities. We've had kids not even leave the city of Westland before till getting matched with a mentor and going elsewhere. Sometimes some of our trips to the Detroit Zoo might be the child's first time at the Detroit Zoo. Some of our older students during the summer, we provide college tours and go to different places and allow them to ask questions and see what else is out there, to let them know that the world's just much bigger and there's opportunity. And more importantly, that they have a role and a say with how they do in the future. So I do ramble. That's what I do. Commissioner Anderson will attest to that.
Thank you.
Drug testing, drug education. If we do have a failure, and we probably got a few, everything goes about relationships and people. And we do give people, the families that we work with, probably a little longer sometimes if they miss a few weeks of group, instead of just closing them right out that we might be responsible for. We know things come up in life, so we'll probably extend and put ourselves at risk for, hey, you went too long without a contact, giving families the benefit of the doubt. So I'll be happy to field any questions.
Thank you, Paul, for that presentation from the city of Westland, right?
Yes.
All right. Any questions? Commissioner Anderson. Mm-hmm.
Welcome, Paul. I think I'm sitting here recalling, I think I was, when we first started the program, Youth Assistance Program in Westland, I was on the city council back in those days. And with your predecessor that you had mentioned, you've done a great job for us in the city of Westland. And I know several kids that have gone through the program and have turned out to be great young adults. And just wanted to ask you, how do you measure success as far as recidivism? Is that one of your measures that you have? And how do you feel there's ways to improve the program if you were to have, whether it be more funding, whether it be, and I know you probably wouldn't argue with that point, but it's I know it's difficult to keep the kids engaged sometimes, but I'd just like to get your response to that as to what type of measurement you use.
First off, I'll try to tackle keeping the youth engaged. So It's our case managers and they come up with different activities and programming. But part of that is in engaging the youth and listening to them and finding what some of their needs are. And so we kind of go from there. There was a earlier speaker today and I might want to touch base like, hey, how do you get all the stats of like recidivism? We used to have authorization for record check, and I think we'd give that to someone in the court before, say, hey, have any of these kids gotten in trouble? And there's different ways to look at recidivism too. There's some entities that may say, well, it only comes up if it's a felony. Well, we all know when people go to court, felonies are dropped frequently to misdemeanors. So that might not be getting the real picture. I believe we probably have about 5 or 6 kids a year who either didn't finish our program but got in further trouble with the police or the court. So out of the numbers that we serve, it does come up. Some years it's been less. I think sometimes too, and we're working on this and just in terms of holding kids to a higher standard sometimes. And so it's not just about showing up at group when our kids go to group. In order for them to advance through our program, we expect them to have regular school attendance without any unexcused absences, no suspensions. We expect them to be able to get along at home and follow the rules and responsibilities of home. There's also drug testing that takes place. We also expect our young people to have responsible participation in group. Meaning, hey, you got to be there, you got to be present, you got to share, you got to listen and be respectful. And when you think about it, that's an awesome success because we're taking kids who might be the biggest troublemakers from 8, 10 schools and throwing them all in a group and expecting these things. Oftentimes we're very successful, and sometimes it takes longer than 10 weeks to get through. We shoot for the 6 months. If we need more, we request Wayne County, and if they see that the family's been making some gains, they allow that as an opportunity. Sometimes kids have experienced so much trauma, it takes a couple months to get through. There's a lot of trauma that's shared for the first time with our program staff. So our program is been a necessity. So did I answer your question, sir? Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Commissioner Colleen? Yep.
Madam Chair. And I asked previous folks about their interaction with the county for this program and how all of that works. And you just mentioned something that was curious to me. So if the kid's there 6 months, that's kind of their contract for how long they have to be there or how you're contracted for funding. And that if you need to go beyond that 6 months, you have to ask Wayne County. How does that work?
Well, we provide updates and the county can see like the family's attendance and their participation. Sometimes we have to kind of justify it. It's like, hey, we're getting some breakthroughs. We're just having some improvements. We want to continue. And I'll say Wayne County's been very supportive of that because they want the same thing too. They want our programs to be successful. They want us to keep kids out of JDF and out of the system. And sometimes it takes kids a little longer. Now, most of our kids in our program are not the overachievers in school. A lot of times these are kids who might not have had the best academic success and might have fallen behind and not be connected with other positive influences or opportunities. So sometimes it takes a bit. And if something's not working, we're always willing to try something different.
That's what I was trying to get at earlier, just understanding this program, because it is, I think I'm still using the right phrase, a donor funded program with the state of Michigan, right? And you take a certain chunk of money, run it through Wayne County. they send it up to the state, they match it 50-50 and send it back.
Right. We pay for everything up front first, I believe.
Yeah, well,
And then,
that's
yeah,
another
it's-
aspect of that. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah.
And of course, the state is always there on time with the check, always. You never have to go to your bookkeeper and say, well, how the hell are we going to do this for the next 8 months? But what role does the county have then in approving, if I'm hearing you right, which kids stay in the program, or does the county ever say, no,
Well,
we can't go after additional funding for this?
well, when I mentioned a little bit earlier that sometimes it seems like families fall off the face of the world. They're not responding to phone calls and letters. We used to do a lot more home visits prior to COVID as well. We still sprinkle in a few home visits out of necessity or families okay with it. Our staff is still getting used to that. But it's if they're not, let's say, making enough progress or they haven't been involved and it's like, hey, there hasn't been any notes added or, you know, I get it. But that's usually part of it. But if we ask, you know, it's done.
So the county does have some role in who's in the program and who's not.
Yeah, well, first off, for approval, so sometimes kids might say, oh yeah, this is my first time in trouble. Sometimes parents or guardians lie too. And if they take a look and this kid's already been, you know, adjudicated previously or whatever, they might not be getting that opportunity to participate with us.
You make the call on that, right? Not the county?
I am probably known for giving everyone an opportunity, the best that I can in our program. And if it's not enough, we'll look and try to find something that's better and a better fit for them or in conjunction.
But there will be times when you say, we need to continue this kid in the program for another 6 months and the county says no?
It's pretty well set in stone. You can probably get to a year, but you're not going past a year. Fair.
Limitations of the state or of the county when it comes to that?
That would probably be in our, what is it, 100 and I don't want to guess the right number of the rule book, but I'm sure that's in there somewhere. So that might have been, you know, made from the state that the county has to abide by in overseeing the program so we don't lose funding to provide all these services to keep kids in the community.
Okay, so it's up to the county.
I think it's the state.
To ride shotgun on the state's rules.
Yes, I think that would be fair. And I don't want to speak on behalf of the county, nor do I want to speak on our financial people.
I'm just trying to understand that, but, and of course you spend your money up front, but it sounds like the state is saying to the county, here, we have these rules for this program of first contact. You ride shotgun on them. Don't send us up here anybody for funding that's outside of those rules. So that's, if I'm saying that right, that's a better understanding for me for really what the county's role is in this whole thing.
Right. And
because eventually it's your money, not ours.
So, and Vice Chair Colleen, and I think part of this and how it was explained to me before. So Wayne County seems to be in large different than most of the other counties within the state. Now we have Oakland and Macomb County that might have some similar as us, but far less of kids having involvement with the court system, as opposed to maybe some more rural communities. And I think at some point in time, the state of Michigan may have been asked by different parties, why are we spending so much money on Wayne County to provide service to keep kids? So in Wayne County, yep, I know kids who've carjacked. It happens. The example that I used to hear was cow tipping in other communities or some type of shining or something like that. So I believe, and maybe it's a financial issue. I'm sure there's numerous factors that can play a role. Why our kids dominate the amount of funding compared to the rest of the state.
Well, there's
Okay,
another
yeah.
thing that's as old as the hills in Lansing, where Ogama County wants to know why Wayne County gets everything and they don't get nothing, and that gets into their committee. Not that Commissioner Anderson would know anything about
Well,
that kind of stuff going on in Lansing, but I hear you. I hear what you're saying. Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, sir.
Killeen. And thank you, again, the city of Westland. All right, let's move on to the next item, please.
F, such other matters as may be properly submitted before the committee.
There was, I thought, item for immediate consideration, but I don't see Ms. Jordan here. So maybe she wanted to save it for another day. All right, we'll move on to the next item.
Public comments.
Are there any public comments today? Anyone in the audience? Anyone on the phone or email or Zoom? Right, I think there are none, Madam Clerk.
There are no emails and no one indicating that they want to speak on Zoom.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Adjournment.